Welcome, everyone, to another edition of The Travel Show with your host, Ted Blank of Ted Blank Luxury Travel and Adventure. And we so enjoy chatting it up with him about all things travel. Ted, how have you been?
I've been doing well, and I'm looking forward to the end of winter here. I think we're getting pretty close, although there's a little bad weather this week, but that's just a roadblock. I think the blooms are not too far away.
I love that. Yep. And that's just going to be here before we know it. So we better start thinking about travel, right? Because we might have some downtime coming up or give us something to look forward to in 2026. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, I thought I would give a preview of some of the new cruise ships that are going to be coming online between now and the end of next year. There are about 30 different cruise ships on order, and I thought we might talk about some of the most interesting ones.
Oh, I love this. Is that unusual to have that many being entered into the force or no?
Well, there's been a little bit of a backlog because of COVID. And so when COVID hit, the cruise line stopped ordering ships. And so 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, there were very few new cruise ships delivered. And now we're starting to pick back up to a little bit more normal of a pace. But cruising kind of all stripes, whether it's, a resort type cruise in the Caribbean where you're on a nice big luxurious floating resort, or a small expedition cruise, or a luxury foodie focused cruise. Cruising is becoming one of the most popular vacations in America and around the world.
Do you think part of that, though, is because of the travel show hosted by Ted Blank of Ted Blank Luxury Travel?
I think a good portion of it is. Yeah, yes, I agree.
I was just wondering. So, Ted, what is the average age or lifespan of a cruise ship?
Well, most cruise ships will operate for their initial operator for anywhere between 25 and 40 years, depending on what type of a cruise ship it is, what type of a brand it is. And then a lot of times they'll be sold to smaller companies, maybe newer cruise lines or cruise lines that are serving new cruise markets. The average lifespan of a cruise ship is probably about 50 years. So they have a good career, and during that time they're refurbished many times. They spend time in dry dock to make sure that all the safety features and everything are kept up to date and there aren't any rusty spots that are going to cause problems with the hull or anything. And then they get upgraded, new carpets, new furniture, new restaurants. Sometimes it's amazing what can be done to a cruise ship to keep it fresh and contemporary, even if it's a little bit older.
Well, this is really exciting. So these new ones that you're going to highlight, how did you pick 6 to highlight?
Well, it was kind of hard. And so I tried to pick kind of what I would say would maybe represent the diversity of the cruise industry. 2 big mega ships. They're going to be really great for families, really great for folks looking to do that kind of resort style cruising where you have a floating resort that takes you someplace warm, like the Caribbean. A couple mid-sized ships that are a little more focused on exploring different destinations, places like Alaska, the Mediterranean, Northern Europe, Asia, and one kind of expedition type ship that really gets you up close and personal and only carries 220 passengers.
Oh my goodness. Well, let's hear about them, please.
Sure. Well, let's go biggest to smallest. How does that sound?
I love that.
All right. So coming up here in the next couple weeks, there are actually 2 competing cruise ships that are going to be debuting. One is called the Norwegian Aqua, and it's owned by Norwegian Cruise Line. And the second one is called the MSC World America, which is owned by a company called MSC Cruises. And the MSC World America is a little bigger. It's going to have about 2,600 staterooms. And that means it can carry over 6,000 passengers. So this is a very, very big ship. And it will be based primarily in Florida, primarily cruising to the Bahamas and the Caribbean pretty much all year round. What makes this ship unique is that it's one of the first cruise ships to be able to be powered by liquefied natural gas, or LNG, which is a very environmentally friendly fuel. Most cruise ships are powered by diesel fuel, like trucks or tractors or trains. And so LNG is a much lower emission option, but you can't just say, oh, we're going to have an LNG cruise ship. You have to have all the infrastructure in place to be able to the fuel delivered to the ship. So it's a pretty complex undertaking to make it work. They've done it with a very, very big cruise ship. So, that's kind of neat to see a little more sustainability in the cruise industry. Something I really like about this cruise ship and this cruise line, well, actually two things. The first one is they have a fantastic private island in the Bahamas. And we talked about it a little bit in a previous episode, but a private island is a place where your cruise ship goes, and in most cases, you'll be the only ship there. It's owned by the cruise line, and they've basically developed the island to be kind of a day at the beach, a beach party, kind of like pulling up to a sandbar along the Mississippi, but on a bigger scale. And I think MSC probably wins the award for the best private island in the Bahamas. It's really fantastic. It's called the Ocean Key Marine Reserve, and it's just beautiful. The ships actually dock at the island, so you don't have to take a little tender back and forth, and everything on the island is great. It's perfect for families, great for couples just kind of looking to spend a quiet, relaxing day at the beach. And it's also got fun things to do if you're into a little more active activities. And then the other thing that I really like about this particular ship is it has sort of a ship within a ship on board called the MSC Yacht Club. And that's a concierge level, essentially, on board the ship. Has its own restaurant, its own bar, gorgeous, gorgeous staterooms, and its own private pool, private outdoor buffet, private bar. So it's a really nice experience for families who maybe want something a little bit special, or for folks looking to celebrate a special occasion. I really think the World America Yacht Club is a great option, and it's at a pretty competitive price. And that's one of the advantages of the big ships, is they can deliver a lower price point overall.
Very cool. So that's the biggest.
Yep. So next we have the Norwegian Aqua, and it's just a little bit smaller, but it does carry fewer passengers. And so it's going to feel a little more spacious on board. But Norwegian has really put their effort into kind of the fun amenities on the cruise ship. So they have water slides. They have a sports court where you can play basketball and things like that, but it's actually a glow-in-the-dark sports court. They have what they call a slide coaster, which is a combination water slide roller coaster. I don't know quite how it works, but it sounds like it's kind of a neat thing. I'm sure the kids would absolutely love it, and maybe the young at heart would love it. They actually have an adults-only pool in there that they've designed to be kind of like a beach club. So different than kind of the standard cruise ship pools, which are going to definitely be smaller than you would find at a land-based resort, of course. They also have a great private island in the Bahamas, and they have a nice ship within a ship that they call the Haven, which is also a really, really great option. And this ship will be, first of all, based in New York, cruising to Bermuda this summer, and then it will move down to Florida and also spend time doing the Caribbean and the Bahamas, mostly from Miami and Orlando. So now we're going to switch gear a little bit and move into sort of mid-sized cruise ships. And mid-sized cruise ships carry, between 700 and 1,500 passengers. The first one is called the Allura, and it's owned by a small cruise line called Oceana Cruises. And if you are a foodie, like our friend who does the foodie show on the radio.
Oh, he's a real foodie.
This is a fantastic opportunity. Jacques Pepin and Giada De Laurentiis are the celebrity executive chefs of this cruise line. The cuisine on board is top-notch. They have several restaurants on board that you can dine in at no additional charge. They have a really neat culinary center where you can take cooking classes. And one of the neat things they do is they do shore excursions where you can go to the market and go shopping with the chef and then come back on board and make your own purchases into a fantastic gourmet meal with the help of the chef on board. So it's a really, really neat concept. Oceana is a great opportunity. They cruise all over the world. This ship will spend most of the year in the Mediterranean next year before it also makes its way back to Miami in the late 2025 and early 2026. So beautiful ship called the Allura. And then a competing cruise line that I think we've all heard of is called Viking Cruises. And Viking is, of course, famous for their river cruises, but they also do a great job with cruises in the ocean. And so they have several ocean cruise ships, over a dozen, and they take delivery of a new ship every 6 months. So in this time period we're talking about, the rest of this year and next year, they're actually going to take delivery of 3 brand new ships. They carry just about 1,000 passengers. So very, very nice size. They can visit both kind of those marquee ports of call where the main attractions are, but also some smaller ports, which I think is a really neat opportunity to kind of shake it up a little bit on your cruise and do some different things. They have 3 ships coming, and they cruise all over the world. They cruise the Mediterranean, they cruise Alaska, they cruise the coast of Norway, they cruise the Baltic Sea, they cruise Asia, the Caribbean, South America, world cruises, you name it. And folks love Viking because it's a great value. The onboard experience is top notch. There is an shore excursion included in every port. So you have an opportunity to get off and see things, and that's included in the price. And one of the reasons why they can take delivery of a new ship every 6 months is that they fill up really, really quickly. And so that's true of all cruises. But, if one of these ships kind of piques your interest, it might be a good time now to think about booking it for later this year or 2026 as well. So then we can talk about the smallest cruise ship, and then we'll talk about the most luxurious one.
Oh, excellent.
But the smallest cruise ship only carries 220 passengers. And that is small as far as cruise ships go. I mean, think about it. We talked about over 6,000 passengers, and now we're down to 224 passengers. But this is a really neat cruising opportunity. The ship is going to be called the Star Seeker, and it's owned by a company called Windstar Cruises. And most people have probably never heard of Windstar Cruises. They have 6 ships right now. 3 of them are sailing ships, and 3 of them are yachts, yacht-style ships that carry about 200 passengers. And this is now the latest and greatest from them. So new types of staterooms, more dining choices on board. And Windstar definitely has top-notch cuisine. They actually partner with the James Beard Foundation. So get another great option for foodies. And because this is a small ship, you can go places that the big ships can't go. The Star Seeker will start out in the Caribbean late this year and then visit Alaska in the summer of 2026. So pro tip, I think that's going to be a really successful season for them. And I think this is going to be a really unique opportunity in Alaska. So if you've had Alaska kind of percolating on the bucket list, give me a call and let me tell you a little bit about the Star Seeker, because I think they have a really great Alaska experience set up for next year. And then the ship's going to head over to Japan in the fall and spend the winter in Southeast Asia. So very different than the Caribbean. Much more focused on those small ports than the places the big ships can't go. And then, of course, the beautiful cuisine on board the ship as well.
I love the name of it.
Yeah, Star Seeker. They also have the Star Legend and the Star Breeze, but I kind of like the Star Seeker. I think that's a neat name for it. And then the last one is a company we've also talked about a few times before, Regent Seven Seas Cruises. And they are really the most all-inclusive cruise line out there. They include a choice of shore excursions in every port, all your meals, all your beverages, gratuities, Wi-Fi, everything on board is essentially included. And they have kind of the latest iteration of their fleet called the Seven Seas Prestige. And she will be launched in very, very late 2026 or early 2027. And they're keeping a lot of the details under wraps because I think they're going to do some dramatic launches. But what I would expect to see are a wider choice of specialty dining restaurants, so a lot more options for dining, enhanced staterooms, and that will range across all the stateroom categories from kind of the regular balcony type staterooms up to some of their suites. And they have some incredible suites on board their ships that are great for folks who want to splurge and enjoy a suite, but they're also great if you have a family group traveling together. And you might have some folks stay in a suite and other folks stay in a regular stateroom so you can get together and gather and enjoy the amenities of the suites. So I'm excited to see that. The details have not been announced yet. The itineraries haven't been announced, but my suspicion would be that the ship will spend the summer in the Mediterranean and maybe come back to the Caribbean in the winter. So that's a neat ship, the Seven Seas Prestige, coming at the end of probably December of 2026 or maybe even January of 2027.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I can't believe that you have all these wonderful opportunities for people to get on a brand new ship. Have you ever been on a brand new ship?
I have. I've been on a brand new ship several times. And in fact, I was supposed to go on the inaugural sailing of the Seven Seas Splendor, which was one of the more recent Regent Seven Seas cruises, but it was supposed to leave on March 20th of 2020. We all know
Oh,
what happened then. So I still have my luggage tags and my tickets on the wall here, but I missed that. Had an opportunity to go on the ship later when it was back in service. But it's neat, it's neat to go on a brand new ship because it definitely has that new car feeling, and you're the only one who's really gotten to try things.
yeah.
One thing I always caution people about is the first couple sailings, you maybe don't want to do that because it's possible there might be a little bit of a delay in the shipyard, and the crew needs a little bit of time to get things working. So sometimes those first sailings aren't quite the experience you're going to get after the ship has been in service for a couple months. But once the ship is settled in and the crew has settled in, all of these are going to be a phenomenal experience.
So, Ted, will there be more cruise ships out there, or are they going to retire some ships?
So some will be retired. Absolutely. Some may be sold off to other operators, but the cruise industry is growing, and it's growing pretty quickly. So there's a lot of new capacity coming into the market.
My goodness, this is so exciting. So, Ted, here's the deal, though. How can we get on one of these cruise ships? Can you help us?
Yeah,
And then also,
absolutely.
can you help us decide what would be the best one for us? I'm just thinking about all of our varied listeners. They wouldn't all be interested in the same ship, would they?
No, and I think that's the great thing about cruising. That's the great thing about travel is, what might interest you might not interest me. But the great news is that there's a cruise or there's a trip out there that is perfect for you. And that's what my team and I specialize in, helping you figure that out. We're going to ask you a lot of questions, get to know you, and then make a good recommendation for you based on your interests and what we know is available out there in the marketplace. And folks can get a hold of me by giving us a call at 651-964-8245. You can visit tedblanktravel.com, or if you happen to be up in downtown Hudson, Wisconsin, 206 Locust Street, and we're open for walk-ins Monday through Thursday from 10 to 2, or you can give us a call, make an appointment, and we're happy to chat with you.
Love that. Ted, thank you so much for your time. Ted Blank, he is the host of The Travel Show. He's also the owner of Ted Blank Luxury Travel and Adventure. And you are listening to another edition of The Travel Show on AM 1460 and FM 97.7 KDWA in Hastings. This travel show has been brought to you by Ted Blank Luxury Travel and Adventures.